Guess what? It's new bike day again, and today I'm at Bike Park Wells to meet with Pat from Forbidden to ride the new Dreadnought V2. But first, coffee. Pat, thanks for bringing along the new V2 Dreadnought. I mean, I got the coffees, but you brought the bikes. That's a pretty good deal, I think, on my part. Got a lot to get into on this bike. Let's start with some basics. What's the travel?
This is 160mm rear travel.
Okay.
So this is up 6mm from the last, well, the V1 generation of Dreadnought.
Forbidden like to do this weird thing where they kind of had they measured the travel along the axle path, but because it was really weird, you didn't get quite the travel they said. So I've got a question for Pat. Is this actually vertical wheel travel?
This is vertical travel.
This bike is a 160mm travel bike.
Well, if you want to get specific, it's 159.11.
Well, I'll measure it at some point probably, so yeah, we will. I can't measure it that accurately though. And what we got up front, are we still on a 170mm fork?
Yeah, so we're keeping the 170mm up front.
So that's the travel. What about wheel size options on this bike?
So this will come as a full 29 or an MX setup.
How do you achieve that?
So we achieved 2 wheel sizes through our modular dropout, and this is shared with the Supernaut.
The old Dreadnought, it had size-specific chainstays. Is that still the case on this bike?
Yep, so each of the 4 sizes is size-specific chainstay length, and then with the interchangeable dropout, you can also adjust the weight bias.
Ah, that's a pretty neat feature, right? How many different dropouts do you have on this bike?
We have 5 different options. So the bike and the frame sets come with the 0 position, but there's also a plus and minus 10mm available aftermarket.
So plus and minus for 29 or?
Plus and minus for MX, 27 rear wheel, and then a plus 10 available for a 29-inch wheel.
So this is the bit that's gonna blow everybody's mind, right? Pat, how long is the chainstay length on this bike in the neutral position?
So this is the S3, and the rear center on this is 460.
That's a long chainstay. That's pretty different to what other brands are doing. How come Forbidden's gone with such a long chainstay on this bike?
Well, we found through the V1 that we wanted to get more weight over the front wheel. So coming into the V2 development, we basically wanted to adjust that weight bias forward so the rider has more weight on the front wheel. And the way that you do that is by lengthening the rear end.
How does that tie in with the front end?
So actually, what we've done is also address bar height. So we've increased the stack by lengthening the head tubes a bit. So whilst the reach looks a little bit shorter, it's because the stack height's higher. And we did that so the body position is a lot more centered in the bike and you have less aggressive weight transfers from front to back.
So that's pretty interesting, because one of my criticisms of the old Dreadnought was that the front end was a little bit too low, so you had to run like a I ran a ride high Bergtech bar in the front, but I don't think there's any need to do that on the new bike.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So by running higher bars, it gives you a better position, you can stand up more in the bike, and the complete bikes come with size-specific handlebars.
Now you just said S sizing, so it used to be small, medium, large, XL. Correct, what have you got now?
We've got S1, S2, S3, S4, and we did that because we wanted to break people's traditions of just going, I'm a medium. Like, we want people to look at our geometry and take it in. Okay,
so one thing we haven't talked about is the really big change right here. So this bike's now a inverted 4-bar.
So obviously this looks very similar to our Druid and our Supernaut, and it does have the family resemblance, but it's completely tuned for the application of the bike, so it's full enduro spec. We spent a long time on the link, which is tucked away, hidden away nicely, to tune that kinematic for the usage.
So that actually leads us nicely to my second criticism of the old Dreadnought, and that was that I could never get all the travel out of it. So the kinematics changed quite a lot, Pat, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we've tuned the leverage rate differently, so it now has a higher starting rate, so a lot softer off the top, but we have built in that mystical mid-stroke support, so the bike itself feels a lot poppier and more playful when you're in the middle of the travel.
This actually isn't the first time I've seen this bike. We rode it yesterday. We did a lot of setup stuff, we shot some photos, and yeah, you definitely notice that the bike doesn't have that kind of, I don't know if it's quite as plush as the old bike, but there's definitely like more support. So when you're pumping or cranking, the bike just kind of sits more stable. And again, that could be like the old bike I rode was Fox Float X2. This bike's got the new RockShox Vivid on it. So Pat, what are the options?
So we have 3 complete bike options. The one you're looking at here is our top spec XO bike. And then we have 2 specs below, which are both GX transmission with different levels of componentry. And we also have a frame set only as well.
Like in some of these videos I've been doing, that's probably a little bit more of a deep dive than we've done before, but then this is a really kind of interesting bike. It's also like, there's a lot of complicated engineering in it that hopefully like you don't notice when you ride. So I think Pat and I'll just get kitted up, go and get our lift tickets, and just go and do some runs, see how it feels. Nice one, thanks a lot, yeah? Time to get some laps in. I think this is one of the best trails in the bike park. Like just pedaling across that top part, like it definitely is more reactive when you sprint it, and even just the way you can pick it up. Like I'm not saying it's poppy, but just you can preload it and pick it up.
Yeah.
It is definitely more dynamic than the old bike.
Yeah.
Like, and that bit, like that top bit's pedally. And I'm still breathing hard. Like you're not even breathing, man. I need to go and do some of this. Like, how long is that race you're gonna do the weekend?
55k run.
Oh man, that'd kill me. Oh, I got mud in my eye already. Whoa. Yeah, it feels good in that flat corner. Whoa. Last time I rode this trail, I was on a Stump Jumper Evo, so 160, 150. Yeah. This bike's got 170, 160. So it's only got like 10 mil more travel front and rear. But it is an enduro bike rather than a trail bike, and this isn't a particularly gnarly trail, but the fatigue level is so much lower. Yeah. Like through your feet, through your hands, through everything. It's still carrying speed well, and it's still quite dynamic, so it's a pretty good trade-off, I think. So yeah, I just came down that really pretty rough fast section, and backed off the high speed compression on the shock just by one click, just to see if that makes it a little bit more pitter patter. Right, bit of rim dinger. Bit too much water. We're still on rim dinger. Had to stop just to shake our hands and our feet out. Gotta say, could be just like first run at the bike park. Feel a bit tight. Can feel a bit through my hands and my feet. So we're gonna do some more runs. But what's interesting on rim dinger is it's really got a lot of slabby square edge hits, and while the bike still feels a little bit firm maybe for me, it's not slowing down, it's carrying speed really well, so it's not hooking up on those square edge hits. Oh, slippy. Oh no! Oh, nasty. Could do a bit more speed down there. We're just putting the stem up to see how it affects the weight distribution of the bike. Yeah, so these flat turns, the front end stays really loaded, even with a crazy high bar position. So that section we just rode, it's not really like enduro, but lots of enduro courses are in bike parks, built around bike parks, and that's kind of man-made bike park trail. You're gonna find sections like that where it's fast, not super steep, and even with the bars at max height, there's still no problem loading the front end of this bike. Pat's on the gas. Ah! Ah! I just hit the bash guard on a root. Oh man, that's pretty hard to stay out of that rut, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice and fat.
That's good the second time. Yeah, so this, the new Dreadnought uses the same idler that comes on the Druid and the Supernaut. So it's 18 tooth steel, and it's got a special coating on it that we use, similar to what you got on cassette. So it's super hard wearing, and we're getting 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers on a single idler.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's quiet. I mean, that's one thing I just said, is that I was kind of shocked at how quiet it was. I mean, look at it.
Another spring day.
It's stinking. With 2 full days on the new Dreadnought, I think I've got a pretty good handle on it. It still has low pedal kickback, high anti-rise, and a forward weight bias. But these traits seem less apparent and more integrated than before. It's tighter when pedaling, it's easier to maneuver, and it still carries speed really well in the rough. So I'm 100% confident when I say it's a better race bike. But would you choose a high pivot idler bike for racing enduro? Let me know in the comments, and let me know which one you'd choose. Thanks for watching.